She told him, "I don't need medical advice from an Uber driver." Minutes later, he was saving her life. She had no idea her driver was one of the world's top brain surgeons. Dr. Ahmad Hassan adjusted his rearview mirror as another notification chimed on his phone. 6 years of medical school in Damascus, followed by 8 years as chief of neurosurgery at Syria's largest hospital. Now, at 42, he was driving strangers around Chicago for $12 an hour. Ahmad's hands, which once performed delicate brain surgeries, now gripped a steering wheel. The same hands that had removed life-threatening tumors were reduced to accepting cash tips and cleaning car seats between rides. His latest passenger, a young businessman in an expensive suit, slid into the back seat while barking into his phone. "Yeah, I'm stuck with some foreign driver who probably doesn't even understand English. This is exactly why I usually take real taxis." Ahmad said nothing. After 3 years of driving for Uber, he'd learned that responding only made things worse. Instead, he focused on the medical textbooks hidden in his trunk, studying every night for the medical board exams that would restore his career. "Excuse me, driver," the businessman said with exaggerated slowness, as if speaking to a child. "Do you know where Northwestern Hospital is? Or should I use GPS because you don't understand?" "Yes, sir, I know Northwestern," Ahmad replied in accented but perfect English. "I will have you there in 12 minutes. What Ahmad didn't mention was that he knew Northwestern Hospital intimately, not as a driver, but as someone who had spent 6 months volunteering there, desperately hoping to prove his worth to American doctors who saw only his foreign credentials. As they drove through downtown Chicago, Ahmad caught his reflection in the mirror. The same face that had once commanded respect in operating rooms now received only suspicion and condescension. But every insult, every dismissive comment, every moment of humiliation was worth it if it meant his family could build a new life in America. The businessman's ride was typical. Most passengers either ignored Ahmad completely or treated him as invisible. Some were openly hostile, complaining about his accent or questioning his driving abilities. Others were subtly condescending, speaking slowly or expressing surprise when he navigated efficiently through the city. Ahmad had developed coping strategies. He kept the radio on a news station to demonstrate his English comprehension. He memorized facts about Chicago neighborhoods to prove his knowledge. He maintained perfect car cleanliness and always arrived exactly on time. His next passenger was a group of medical residents from Rush University Medical Center. Ahmad's heart ached as he listened to them discuss cases he could have solved in minutes. One resident struggled with a complex brain tumor case, describing symptoms Ahmad had treated dozens of times. "The attending thinks it's inoperable," the resident said, "but something feels wrong about that diagnosis." Ahmad gripped the steering wheel tighter, forcing himself to remain silent. In Syria, he would have immediately recognized the misdiagnosis and recommended the correct surgical approach. Here, he was just an Uber driver whose opinion didn't matter. "Maybe you should get a second opinion from someone qualified," one resident joked. "Like our driver here. I bet he has lots of medical expertise." The group laughed, unaware that the man driving them had performed more successful brain surgeries than all of them combined. Ahmad simply nodded politely and continued driving, swallowing his pride like he did every single day. That evening, Ahmad returned to his small apartment, where his wife Layla was helping their 15-year-old daughter Amira with homework. Layla had been a pediatric nurse in Syria but now worked at a grocery store while studying for her nursing recertification. "How was your day, Habibi?" Layla asked, using the Arabic term of endearment. Ahmad kissed her forehead. "The same, but I received my test results today. I passed another section of the medical boards." Amira looked up from her textbooks. "How much longer, Baba?" 6 more months, Ahmad said. "Then I can apply for residency programs and start practicing medicine again." Ahmad's schedule was relentless. He drove from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., then studied medical texts until midnight. On weekends, he attended review courses for foreign medical graduates, slowly working through the complex process of medical recertification in America. The financial pressure was constant. His Uber earnings barely covered rent, food, and his family's basic needs. The medical board exams cost thousands of dollars, money they didn't have but somehow found by cutting every possible expense. "Dr. Hassan." A familiar voice made Ahmad turn around at a coffee shop where he was studying between rides. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a neurosurgeon he'd met during his volunteering at Northwestern, approached his table. "I thought that was you. How are you doing?" Ahmad stood respectfully. "Very well, thank you, doctor." Walsh, still working toward recertification. She glanced at his medical textbooks with sympathy. "I know the process is frustrating. Your surgical knowledge was impressive during your volunteer work. The system just takes time." After she left, Ahmad stared at his reflection in the coffee shop window. Dr. Walsh was kind, but even she saw him as a former doctor struggling to reclaim his profession. She didn't see him as an equal, despite his years of experience and proven expertise. Ahmad's phone buzzed with another ride request, a pickup at a downtown office building, destination O'Hare Airport. He closed his textbooks, returned to his car, and slipped back into his role as just another immigrant driver trying to make ends meet. As he drove toward the pickup location, Ahmad reflected on his journey. In Syria, he had been Dr. Ahmad Hassan, chief of neurosurgery, respected by colleagues and grateful patients. He had performed groundbreaking procedures and taught at medical conferences. Now he was simply Ahmad, Uber driver, with a 4.9-star rating and perfect attendance. His passengers saw someone who likely couldn't afford their lifestyle, someone whose opinions didn't matter, someone who existed only to transport them from one place to another. What they didn't see was a man who had saved over 1,000 lives, who had pioneered surgical techniques now used in hospitals worldwide, who had chosen to leave everything behind rather than watch his family suffer in a war-torn country. In 30 minutes, Ahmad would pick up a passenger whose life would depend on those invisible qualifications. And for the first time in 3 years, everyone would finally see Dr. Ahmad Hassan for who he really was. Margaret Chen, a 55-year-old investment banker, slid into Ahmad's back seat looking unusually flustered. She was typically the type of passenger who spent entire rides on conference calls, barely acknowledging his existence. Today, she seemed distracted and slightly unsteady. "O'Hare Airport, please," she said, pressing her fingers to her temple. "I have a flight to catch in 90 minutes. Ahmad noticed her speech was slightly slurred and she seemed confused about which terminal she needed. "Are you feeling all right, ma'am?" "Just a headache," Margaret dismissed. "I've been working 18-hour days this week. Drive, please." As they entered highway traffic, Ahmad kept glancing in the rearview mirror. Margaret's behavior was concerning. She kept touching the left side of her face and seemed to be having trouble focusing on her phone screen. "Ma'am, are you certain you're feeling well? Your speech seems—" "I'm fine," Margaret snapped. "Just drive and mind your own business. I don't need medical advice from an Uber driver." Ahmad fell silent, but his medical training wouldn't let him ignore what he was seeing. Margaret's symptoms were consistent with the early stages of a stroke, but he knew she wouldn't listen to his concerns. Traffic on the Kennedy Expressway was heavier than usual. What should have been a 40-minute drive was looking more like an hour. Ahmad watched Margaret in the mirror, noting her increasing confusion and the way she kept dropping her phone. "Where are we?" Margaret asked suddenly, though they'd only been driving for 10 minutes. "On our way to O'Hare, ma'am. About 40 minutes remaining." Margaret looked around with confusion that chilled Ahmad's blood. Combined with her earlier symptoms, this disorientation confirmed his worst fears. She was having a stroke and they were trapped in Chicago traffic with the nearest hospital miles away. "I can't. My arm—" Margaret's words became garbled as her left arm went limp. The phone fell from her hand as her face drooped on the left side. Ahmad immediately activated his hazard lights and began moving toward the shoulder. "Ma'am, I'm calling 911. You're having a medical emergency." "No, flight," Margaret mumbled, but her words were barely comprehensible now. Ahmad pulled onto the shoulder as Margaret's condition rapidly deteriorated. In Syria, he would have had her in an operating room within minutes. Here, stuck in traffic, he had only his knowledge and whatever supplies he could find in his car. 911, what's your emergency?" "This is Dr. Ahmad Hassan. I have a 55-year-old female passenger experiencing an acute ischemic stroke, left-sided facial droop, arm weakness, aphasia, and altered mental status. We're on the Kennedy Expressway, mile marker 47. The dispatcher paused. "Sir, did you say you're a doctor?" "Yes, neurosurgeon. Please dispatch emergency medical services immediately. Patient needs tissue plasminogen activator within the next 90 minutes or she'll have permanent brain damage." Ahmad turned to Margaret, who was now barely conscious. "Ma'am, my name is Dr. Hassan. You're having a stroke, but I'm going to take care of you." He quickly assessed her neurological status, using techniques he'd performed thousands of times. Margaret's stroke was severe, but if she received proper treatment quickly, she had a chance for full recovery. "EMS is 20 minutes out due to traffic," the dispatcher reported. "Can you provide care until they arrive?" "Yes," Ahmad said, already moving into action. Ahmad opened his trunk and retrieved his medical supply kit, something he'd kept despite no longer practicing. Inside were basic neurological assessment tools he'd brought from Syria and some emergency medications he'd acquired during his hospital volunteering. He carefully monitored Margaret's vital signs and neurological function, providing the kind of immediate care that could mean the difference between recovery and permanent disability. Every few minutes he updated the dispatcher with precise medical terminology that clearly indicated his expertise. "Doctor, this is Paramedic Rodriguez. We're 5 minutes out. Can you give us a report?" Ahmad delivered a concise, professional summary. 55-year-old female, acute onset left-sided weakness, facial droop, and aphasia approximately 30 minutes ago. NIH stroke scale score of 14, indicating moderate to severe stroke. Blood pressure 180/110. Heart rate 95. Respirations 18. No signs of hemorrhage. Likely ischemic stroke affecting middle cerebral artery distribution. The paramedic's tone shifted to one of professional respect. Copy that, doctor. Excellent assessment. We'll be ready for immediate transport to Northwestern Stroke Center. When the ambulance arrived, the paramedics found Ahmad providing textbook emergency stroke care. His precise monitoring and quick action had likely saved Margaret from severe permanent brain damage. "Are you the neurosurgeon who called this in?" asked paramedic Rodriguez. "Yes, Dr. Ahmad Hassan. I was the patient's Uber driver when she suffered the stroke." The paramedics exchanged surprised glances. It wasn't every day they encountered a brain surgeon driving for Uber who could provide better emergency care than most emergency room doctors. As they loaded Margaret into the ambulance, Ahmad provided a detailed handoff to the receiving medical team. His professional demeanor and clinical expertise were impossible to ignore. "Doctor, would you mind riding with us to the hospital?" Rodriguez asked. "Your continued care could be valuable, and honestly, we could use your expertise." Ahmad hesitated. He was supposed to be an Uber driver, not a practicing physician, but Margaret's life was more important than maintaining his cover. "Of course," he said, climbing into the ambulance. As they raced toward Northwestern Hospital, Ahmad continued monitoring Margaret's condition with the skill and confidence of someone who had handled thousands of similar emergencies. For the first time in 3 years, he wasn't hiding his medical knowledge. He was using it to save a life. Northwestern Hospital's emergency department erupted into controlled chaos as Margaret's ambulance arrived. The stroke team, already alerted by radio, was ready to begin immediate treatment. "This is Dr. Hassan," paramedic Rodriguez announced to the receiving team. "He's the neurosurgeon who provided initial care and assessment. The patient is his Uber passenger." Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the attending neurologist, looked up with confusion. "I'm sorry, did you say neurosurgeon and Uber driver?" Ahmad stepped forward. "Dr. Ahmad Hassan, former chief of neurosurgery at Damascus General Hospital, currently working toward medical recertification in the United States." The medical team's attitude shifted immediately. Dr. Mitchell, who had been prepared to take a report from a layperson, found herself receiving a detailed professional consultation from a colleague. "Patient experienced sudden onset neurological symptoms approximately 45 minutes ago," Ahmad reported. "Based on presentation and timing, I recommend immediate CT angiography, followed by mechanical thrombectomy if large vessel occlusion is confirmed." Dr. Mitchell nodded with growing respect. "That's exactly our protocol. Your field assessment likely saved significant brain tissue." As Margaret was rushed into the CT scanner, Dr. Mitchell pulled Ahmad aside. "Dr. Hassan, your emergency care was exceptional. How long have you been practicing neurosurgery?" 14 years total, 8 as chief of neurosurgery. I performed over 1,200 successful procedures before coming to America. Ahmad's voice carried quiet pride mixed with resignation. "I've been studying for medical board recertification for 3 years while driving for Uber." Dr. Mitchell's expression showed a mixture of admiration and outrage. "A neurosurgeon of your experience driving for Uber? That's criminal." Margaret's CT results appeared on the screen, confirming Ahmad's diagnosis: a large vessel occlusion in the middle cerebral artery. Without immediate intervention, she would suffer permanent brain damage. "Dr. Hassan," Dr. Mitchell said, I know this is highly irregular, but would you be willing to assist with the thrombectomy procedure? Your expertise could be invaluable." Ahmad hesitated. He wasn't licensed to practice in the United States, and assisting in surgery could jeopardize his recertification process. "I understand the legal complications, Doctor," Mitchell continued, "but you've already saved this woman's life once today. Help us finish what you started." 40 minutes later, Ahmad found himself back in an operating room for the first time in 3 years. His hands, which had grown stiff from gripping steering wheels, remembered their purpose as he assisted Dr. Mitchell in the delicate procedure to remove the blood clot from Margaret's brain. "Suction here," Ahmad directed with quiet authority. "The vessel is more fragile than it appears." Dr. Mitchell followed his guidance, recognizing that she was working alongside someone whose experience far exceeded her own. The procedure was a complete success. Margaret's brain function was restored, and with proper rehabilitation, she would make a full recovery. As they closed, Dr. Mitchell turned to Ahmad with genuine admiration. "Dr. Hassan, I've never worked with someone who could read vascular anatomy like that. Your technique was flawless." Ahmad removed his surgical mask, exhausted but fulfilled in a way he hadn't felt since leaving Syria. "Thank you for allowing me to help." As they walked out of the operating room, Ahmad realized that for the first time in 3 years, he felt like a doctor again. But he also knew that tomorrow he would return to his car and continue driving strangers around Chicago, waiting for the day when he could practice medicine legally again. Margaret Chen woke up in the ICU 12 hours later, her speech clear and her motor function intact. The first thing she asked for was to speak with the Uber driver who had saved her life. "I remember what happened," she told Dr. Mitchell. "That driver, he knew exactly what was wrong with me. He called 911 and said he was a doctor." Dr. Mitchell smiled. "He is a doctor, Mrs. Chen. Dr. Ahmad Hassan, one of the finest neurosurgeons I've ever worked with. He performed your initial emergency care and assisted with your surgery." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "I was so rude to him. I told him I didn't need medical advice from an Uber driver." When Ahmad arrived for his afternoon visit, Margaret was waiting with her husband and teenage son. The whole family stood as he entered the room. "Dr. Hassan," Margaret's husband said, extending his hand. "Our family owes you everything. The doctors told us that without your immediate care, Margaret would have suffered permanent brain damage." Ahmad accepted the handshake humbly. "I'm just grateful I was in the right place at the right time." Margaret looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and shame. "Doctor, I need to apologize for how I treated you. I made assumptions about who you were based on your job and your accent. I was wrong." "Mrs. Chen, there's no need to apologize," Ahmad said gently. "You were frightened and unwell. What matters is that you're going to make a full recovery." Margaret's son, a college student, spoke up. "Dr. Hassan, my mom told us you're studying to become licensed here. Is there anything we can do to help?" Ahmad was touched by the offer but shook his head. "The process takes time, but I'm making progress. In 6 months, I should be eligible to apply for residency positions." Margaret exchanged a meaningful look with her husband. "Dr. Hassan, what if I told you there might be a faster way?" Margaret explained that her investment firm had extensive connections in Chicago's medical community, including board members at several major hospitals. I've already made some calls, she said. Northwestern's chief of surgery wants to meet with you this week. Ahmad felt a surge of hope mixed with caution. Mrs. Chen, I appreciate the gesture, but I need to earn my position through proper channels. You're not asking for charity, Margaret's husband interrupted. You've already proven your abilities. You saved my wife's life. You just need someone to open the right doors. Dr. Mitchell, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped forward. Dr. Hassan, Mrs. Chen is right. Your skills are extraordinary. Let us help you navigate the system. Word of Ahmad's emergency intervention spread quickly through Northwestern's medical community. Dr. James Peterson, chief of surgery, requested an immediate meeting. Dr. Hassan, I've reviewed the case notes and surgical reports, Dr. Peterson said. Your emergency care was textbook perfect, and Dr. Mitchell says your surgical assistance was exceptional. Tell me about your background. Ahmad provided a detailed overview of his training and experience in Syria, including his research publications and innovative surgical techniques. 14 years of neurosurgery experience, including 8 as department chief, Dr. Peterson mused. And you've been driving for Uber while studying for recertification. The recertification process is designed to ensure patient safety, Ahmad explained. I understand why it's necessary, even if it's been personally challenging. Dr. Peterson leaned forward. Dr. Hassan, I'm going to be direct. Our neurosurgery department has been struggling to fill a critical position. We need someone with your level of experience, and frankly, your demonstration of clinical excellence under pressure is exactly what we're looking for. Ahmad's heart raced, but he maintained his composure. I haven't completed the full recertification process yet. Actually, you have, Dr. Peterson smiled, sliding a folder across the desk. Your test scores came in this morning. You've passed all required examinations. We can offer you a position as soon as your paperwork is processed. Ahmad stared at the test results, hardly believing what he was seeing. After 3 years of studying every night after 12-hour driving shifts, he had officially cleared every hurdle required for medical practice in the United States. Dr. Hassan, I'd like to offer you a position as attending neurosurgeon with the possibility of department leadership once you've completed our orientation process, Dr. Peterson continued. Your starting salary would be $450,000 annually. Ahmad thought of Layla working at the grocery store, of Amira studying by candlelight to save on electricity bills, of 3 years of humiliation and financial struggle. The number was almost incomprehensible after earning $12 per ride. There's one condition, Doctor, Peterson added. Mrs. Chen has requested that you be her primary neurosurgeon for her follow-up care. She said she trusts only the doctor who saved her life. Ahmad smiled, thinking of the woman who had dismissed him as just a driver and now insisted on his exclusive care. I would be honored. As he signed the employment contract, Ahmad realized that his journey had come full circle. The hands that had been forced to grip steering wheels were finally returning to their true purpose, saving lives in the operating room. 3 months later, Dr. Ahmad Hassan walked through the halls of Northwestern Hospital, wearing scrubs instead of an Uber driver's polo shirt. His colleagues greeted him with the respect his expertise deserved, and patients requested him specifically based on his growing reputation. His first surgery as an attending physician was removing a complex brain tumor that other surgeons had deemed inoperable. The procedure was a complete success, and Ahmad felt the deep satisfaction that comes from using one's gifts to serve others. Layla had also found her place in the American medical system, working as a pediatric nurse at Northwestern while completing her advanced certification. Amira was thriving in school, no longer embarrassed by her parents' struggles, but proud of their perseverance. "Baba, do you miss driving for Uber?" Amira asked one evening. Ahmad considered the question carefully. "Those 3 years taught me something important, Habibti. They taught me that our worth isn't determined by our job titles or how others see us. Every person deserves dignity and respect, regardless of their circumstances." Margaret Chen made a full recovery and became one of Ahmad's most enthusiastic advocates. She established a foundation to help foreign-trained medical professionals navigate the recertification process, ensuring that other qualified doctors wouldn't have to drive for Uber while their expertise went unused. "Dr. Hassan showed me that you can't judge someone's value by their accent or their job," Margaret said at the Foundation's first fundraising event. "Some of the most qualified people in our communities are working jobs far below their abilities, not because they lack talent, but because they lack opportunity." Ahmad kept his Uber driver account active, not because he needed the income, but as a reminder of his journey. Sometimes, late at night, after a long surgery, he would drive for an hour or two, providing the same courteous service he always had. The difference was that now he drove by choice, not necessity, and when passengers made assumptions about his background or abilities, Ahmad would simply smile and remember that everyone carries hidden depths that deserve respect. In his glove compartment, Ahmad kept a small card with a Syrian proverb his father had taught him. "A tree is known by its fruit, not by its leaves." For 3 years, people had seen only the leaves, an immigrant driving for survival. But when the moment came, his fruit had saved a life and restored his purpose. Dr. Ahmad Hassan had learned that sometimes the longest journey isn't geographic. It's the path from being seen as who others think you are to being recognized for who you've always been. Every day, extraordinary people walk among us in ordinary jobs. They carry stories of courage, sacrifice, and hidden expertise. The challenge isn't finding these heroes, it's learning to see them. Because sometimes the person you dismiss as just a driver might be the only one qualified to save your life. If this story opened your eyes to the hidden talents around us, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to remember that everyone deserves respect regardless of their circumstances. Have you ever discovered that someone was far more than they appeared? Share your story in the comments below. Until next time, remember, we're all still human.